Arrow is Surf Dracula. Welcome back to your favorite mommy vlogger. My name is Colton. This is Cult Classic. Let's get into it. So today we were going to be talking about the Arrowverse, but more specifically Arrow and why I hate it and it's bad. Later on, I will for sure be talking about more of the Arrowverse as a whole, but I want to start with Arrow because it was the first one. It is the show that I've seen the most of. I've seen almost probably every episode at some point. And I think it began the issues that set a precedent for the issues I have with the universe as a whole. Because it's all the same, really. So, Arrow is a show about Green Arrow. I do the air quotes because it's not Green Arrow. There's nothing about his characterization in the show that is at all similar to the character from the comics. I love Green Arrow. I love the world around him. I love the characters around him. Unlike the other superheroes he commonly interacts with, the Green Lantern, the Flash, just the Justice League in general. He's a Justice Leaguer. He's one of the more important DC superheroes I would say that's out there. That's my dog Juno in the back. Arrow started off, my God, it probably came out in 2012. I didn't watch initially, but I saw when they included Black Canary, I started watching because she is my favorite DC superhero. Shout out Black Canary, we love you. This show came off the heels of the Dark Knight trilogy, where everything was the most realistic it could have been. The most realistic take on Batman that you could have, which was fine. It was probably needed to get superheroes in the general audience's mind. And now we're finally to a point where, within the last few years, I think we've gone full silly, which is how it should have been the whole time, because that's what it is. But they took so many cop-outs. I mean, the first season, and I'm sure this had nothing to do with the budget, but the showrunner, Mark Guggenheim, who I hate with a passion, and I can get into more of that later, but Mark Guggenheim, you're not watching this, but I do fucking hate you bad. And I would say that to your face. I would say that to your face. And what would you do? Anyways, he came out and he was like, we are never doing superpowers in the show. Okay, fine. You want to do a show set in a universe where that's the thing that's happening, but you just want it to be a show about a guy who's killing the people who are fucking his city up, which is cool, but that's not Green Arrow. Just make an original series at this point. What's the point at all, other than there's a built-in fan base you're hoping to tap into? That's all. I don't believe for a second he likes comic books or that he likes Green Arrow. They wanted it to be a Batman show so bad. So many of the characters are playing roles that people in the Bat family might play in a story. Instead of tapping into some of Green Arrow's underutilized villains, he has some cool villains. And they might have poked around at him in the series a few times, but they never made them as big as they should have been. It was definitely Freak of the Week series, which is cool. That's fine. I don't hate a Freak of the Week show. But they use so many Batman villains. And Oliver Queen acts like Bruce Wayne he acts like Batman. He has the personality of Batman, except that he kills people. Or what they think Batman acts like, which I'm not even going to get into Batman. Green Arrow is a very liberal person, and it's been very important in his stories for decades now. He plays the role of the liberal person in the story, when that point of view is needed to the story, it's just part of his character and has been for a very long time. They never touch on that at all. And also Green Arrow is a comedic relief character. He's been through a lot. He had a hard life. Well, he was rich, and then he was on an island, and he had to survive, and he became really incredible with a bow and arrow, whatever. And he comes back and becomes a superhero. But he like doesn't let that like bring him down. Like he's a fun guy. Like he's a very like he's like the uncle. Him and Black Canary are like the hot aunt and uncle of the DC universe. That's kind of the vibe that they give off, and that's what they should give off. Somebody who like adapted these characters in the correct way. That's what you should go for with these two. Every season of the show played out the exact same way, except maybe one that I didn't watch, but I'm pretty sure all the seasons that I watched were the same thing. They were full of red herrings. It was a red herring about of who the main villain is every season. They would take a character, say that that's going to be the villain, introduce, but the villain is in a costume and they're doing fucked up shit behind the scenes, and then they introduce a new character, like a charismatic person who seems like a good guy, but might also be shady, with the government name of the villain of the season. And then before the mid-season finale, every time without fail, they have a scene where they take off the mask of the villain of the season, and it's somebody else. And it's like, oh, what's the fucking point of like why? You're creating original characters. They make so many original characters in this show that are not from the comics, which is fine. You know, you need a large cast, and I don't hate like an original character. Or they would take like a character who had maybe 1 or 2 appearances in the comics that nobody gives a fuck about and turn them into like this huge role player, which can work sometimes. But they would do the red herring villain thing every season. They did it later on in The Flash and other shows in this universe. But Arrow is the worst offender. But the worst thing that they ever did was what they did to my girl Black Canary. Black Canary, like, is easy top 5 most important DC superheroes, female DC superheroes. Easy. Justice Leaguer, like, she works, I could talk about her for hours. She works as like big Justice League level threat character, and she also works as like gritty street character. Like, she can fulfill both roles. Her character in the show is Laurel Lance, which in the comics her name is Dinah Laurel Lance, but they dropped the Dinah because I guess it sounds like an old name. I don't know. So she goes by Laurel Lance in the show, which is fine. I can get over that. She has like a history with Oliver. He cheated on her with her sister before he left for the boat, and her sister dies. Her sister is not a character in the comics, but you would think that she was fucking Superman or something, the way the show makes her seem. I like her too. Like, I like Sarah in the show. But she comes back and she becomes the Canary. They call her the Canary. They never say Black Canary until much later. Just like with Green Arrow, they start off with him. He's just like the Hood, or he's the vigilante for the whole first season. The second season, they call him the Arrow, and then later on they start calling him the Green Arrow. What's the point? I hate this trope in superheroes and superhero media where this is like the beginning of a franchise about a certain character. And they make it seem like to the audience, like, oh, they have to earn their right to wear this suit, or they have to earn the right to be called this certain thing. And it takes 5 years, 5 seasons of this before you can feel like you're watching a show about that character. Why? You want to make a show about Green Arrow. Why can't it start off that way? Why can't I just sit and watch a show about the Green Arrow getting into hijinks and fighting villains? And why does it have to take, why does his personality have to change over 3 or 4 seasons just so I can feel like I'm actually watching a well-adapted version of this character? It's such bullshit. I don't know why that was like such a trend in this type of media in that time, and it really took us a long time to get out of that. Like, I hate the idea of like, it's an origin superhero movie, and this is about Superman, but he doesn't wear the suit until the last third of the movie. That's why I love the new Superman so much, is because he's Superman damn near at the very beginning. Like, literally, like the first time you see him, he's in the suit and he's in the middle of a fight. It's Superman the whole way through. That's how these things should be done. I don't want to watch a show or a movie about a guy becoming Superman. I want to see Superman. I want to see Green Arrow. But, I mean, in Arrow, the show, I mean, it takes you so fucking long before you get to a point where he has a cool superhero suit. They call him Green Arrow, and he's kind of cracking jokes here and there. Still never fully got it, but had they at least been at that point at the beginning of the show, it would have been at least kind of acceptable. But what they did to Black Canary, first of all, there's like 8 different Black Canaries in the show. Laurel Lance is the one that's based on the Black Canary from the comics that you would be familiar with. In the comics, her mother was also the first Black Canary, and that whole thing is very convoluted. But the second Black Canary is the one people talk about, or the one that you would think of, and that's who Laurel is. They just beat this woman down about the whole series. She's on drugs. Her sister dies, comes back, dies again, comes back again. Her mom's in and out of her life. Her mother's not a superhero. Her dad is like this alcoholic cop who's like having a hard time, and they have a strained relationship. And her boyfriend cheated on her, and then she thought he died, but it was her sister he was cheating on her with, so she felt weird about her sister, and then all of that. I think it was season 3 or 4 that she became the Black Canary after her sister had already died. And I liked the actress. Actually, I really liked Katie Cassidy as Laurel Lance, Black Canary. I wanted to see her succeed. I wanted her to do good in the show. And then her sister became a whitewashed version of a character called the White Canary later, and went to a show called Legends of Tomorrow, which out of all of these shows is the silliest and is the campiest. And I think they understood the assignment more so than any of these other shows did in this universe. And then they kill Black Canary. They kill one of the most important superheroes in the DC universe, just for shock value. And then the actress comes back later as Black Canary from a different dimension, and she's a villain, and then she becomes good, and then I think that's how they end the series for her. There was a failed spinoff called Green Arrow and the Canaries about Oliver Queen's daughter with a character called Felicity Smoke and one of the other Black Canaries, set in the future for some reason. I don't know if they ever even got around to explaining why that was. Felicity Smoke. I'm going to say original character. Technically, she's not, because I do believe she was in a few comics as the love interest to a superhero called Firestorm. They bring her into Arrow, and she's like the tech lady. She's the woman in the chair. She's playing the role of Oracle from the Bat family. Batgirl who becomes the Oracle, and she's in a wheelchair. They did the whole wheelchair subplot. If you've ever seen the clip of them getting in the argument, and then Felicity like stands up out of the wheelchair and walks out of the room. I'm going to see if I can add that in to the video if you're watching this, because it's so bad, but I don't know if I can for copyright reasons. They did the wheelchair subplot for her, and they even joked around about maybe calling her Oracle. And then they introduced this entire, like, initially her and Oliver have like this flirty relationship, and she's cute, and I liked her at the beginning. I liked her. I mean, she was a fun character to watch, but they had this entire like super toxic fan base of people who didn't know anything about the comics that loved the Oliver and Felicity relationship. It was #Olicity, and it was big. These people were villains. They were haters, and they hated on Laurel Lance, and they hated on Katie Cassidy. I mean, they would talk mad shit about the actress online because they felt her character was getting in the way of their ship, which is toxic. I was in the Laurel Lance Defense Club on Twitter back in the day. The stand Twitter for this universe could be a whole other video. I mean, it was like the Wild fucking West, if you were a part of that circle at all. It starts off as this like, crack ship doesn't really work here, but it starts off as this ship that the fans are pushing for so long, and the writers kind of tease it here and there, but then eventually they make it official, and they're like in game with each other in the show. The only character that Green Arrow and Black Canary should be with is each other. They're like a couple in pretty much every other piece of media about these characters in the comics, like on and off forever. And it's a cool dynamic. Like, you don't see oftentimes two completely unrelated superheroes, like as a couple, long time like that. At least not in DC. I mean, Batman and Catwoman's like technically not like a superhero though. She's anti-hero, like sometimes villain. Wonder Woman and Superman had a stint in the New 52, which was hated, but that was short-lived. But this is a long-time couple they're both superheroes on the same team together. You just don't really see that. And that dynamic is far more interesting than Oliver Queen getting with like the woman behind the screen in his lair. She was better as she didn't have to be with him to be a good character. It was like one of the worst offenders of fan service in a show. Have you ever heard of a term called surf Dracula? There was this tweet that went viral, and people use the term now to describe stuff like this. So somebody had said that if there was a show in the 70s called Surf Dracula, every episode would be about Dracula surfing and getting into hijinks and saving the day. And now if there was a show called Surf Dracula, it would be 8 episodes. He doesn't surf at all, and in the last episode he gets a surfboard, and like it hints that he might be surfing in the future. Arrow is Surf Dracula. Arrow is Surf Dracula at the absolute worst it could possibly be. This show was not created by people who like the source material. This show was not created by competent people at all. Anything positive I have to say about it is that it was pretty popular on television. For people outside of like the superhero media circle, I do believe people watched. And I like that some of these characters and these themes and ideas and storylines are getting out to a wider range of people who can learn about it. But it also bothers me because you're introducing them to the wrong version. I have a lot to say about the Dark Knight trilogy. They're great movies, but they're not the best Batman adaptations. And that's why you have all these frat brothers who claim that Batman is their favorite superhero, and like that's their only point of reference. And there's this extremely horribly misunderstood version of Batman that lives in the minds of these people and kind of in the general public as a whole. So I can't even say that that's a positive about Arrow because it gave people the wrong impression about so many characters. I'm hopeful that in the new DCU, James Gunn introduces a correct Green Arrow and a correct Black Canary. And if there are any holdovers from the fandom before of this universe, I think they're going to be confused and a little mad. I'm telling you, these people were toxic. It was like a war zone logging in to twitter.com a few years back in these circles. One of my favorite tweeters, one of my favorite Twitter users, their username was Neb. I can show you their account. They had this, after the last show in the Arrowverse ended and it was done, they had released this mega thread of just interesting facts about the show itself, the universe as a whole, and issues that came up, drama behind the scenes, whatever. Huge fucking thread. I'm telling you, like, it's got to be over 300 tweets. And it's such a gold mine for haters like me to go back and look at. I can show you some of my favorites. There was one where I believe in Arrow, they had teased that they were bringing in like this super well-known, character from the comics, and they accidentally adapted a Marvel character. And it was also a Marvel character who had only appeared once or twice. And this is the kind of people I was dealing with. Watching this show and caring about this show was like being gaslit. It was like being in an extremely toxic relationship. And I just had a lot to say about it. I'm glad that we're getting out of this era of superhero adaptations, and I think we are moving in the right direction, finally. I mean, if you've been a DC fan at all in the past 10 years, it's been fucking hell, and it kind of feels like we're eating good now with the new DCU, and we'll just have to see where it goes from here. If you're not aware, you can listen to these episodes on where you listen to podcasts, under Cult Classic, anywhere you listen to them, baby. And if you're listening to this there, you can also watch on YouTube. It's just me in my room. If you're watching on YouTube now, you can see it, and my dog on my bed. But I just talk about things that I care about and no one else does. So listen to me talk about things like that. Okay, bye.